look, one of the most, I don't know what you want to call it, disappointing, egregious, ridiculous calls over the weekend was the roughing the passer call in the Falcons Bucks game. Tom Brady gets sacked, which to me looked like a routine sack, and then the flags come out. Britt, what say you about that roughing the passer call? And does the NFL need to do about this? I thought it was ridiculous, but what say you?
Ridiculous is, I don't know if that's the word. I don't know what to call it. It was bad. It was bad. It was horrendous, horrible, horrific, whatever else I could come up with. But that could have been a game changer. Because at that point in the game, I think the Falcons get the ball back. They're
Yeah.
down by what, 6, I believe. They had momentum going their way. The game was basically going their way. They could have went down and scored a touchdown, won the game. But because of that, that completely ended the game. And we're seeing it again last night with Chris Jones, the Chiefs pass rusher, Chris Jones against oh geez, I can't think of the quarterback, Derek Carr. Derek Carr against the Raiders, Derek Carr. Same thing. I don't know what the refs are thinking. That is textbook. That is a textbook sack. He didn't go low. He didn't go high. He hit him right there in the middle, tackled him. Okay, he swung him around, but that's a 300-pound body swinging. He can't control that going that fast. I don't know what else they will want these defensive players to do. At this point, it's like the quarterbacks need to go play golf. Right? At this point, just go play golf. Are they playing football? Or are they playing golf? Somebody please answer that, because I don't know. It's like, what do you do? And I feel for the defensive players because it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And I just feel like that's going to cost somebody the game going down the line in the future or even in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting. The rest got to get it together. It's still early in the season. They have to get these calls right. But that
Yeah,
was
and I
not a
think
call.
we're all, because I know we've talked about this kind of stuff before, all of us are in favor of player safety.
Yeah.
But like you alluded to, they keep making that target smaller and smaller. I can't
Mhm.
hit you high anymore.
Yeah.
I can't hit you low anymore. Like the window for where a defender can
Yeah.
actually hit you, it just keeps getting smaller and
Yeah.
smaller. And I get it. Like they don't want people slamming people to the ground. Fine, I get it.
Mhm.
But to me, that didn't look like that this
No.
weekend, K Walk. What say
No.
you? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I mean, Britt hit on a lot of the points I was going to make. I mean, it just seems like at this point, you're just going to have to, have these guys play with pillows and blankets, just lay them down, lay the pillow down and later put the blanket on top of them, make sure they're okay before you get to tackle these guys. Because of the fact of the matter is you can't hit them anywhere, Jay. You can't
Mhm.
go low. You can't go high. You can't slam them to the ground. It's just a fine. I mean, it's just a thin line. I don't even know if there's a line anymore. I just think it's all the discretion of the ref. That was actually the worst I've seen. And I get it. We get it. Like you said, Jay, we're all for player safety. But that is just that didn't make any sense. And I don't know if they talked to the refs. I don't think they talked to the refs after the game. I think that's an NFL rule that they don't talk about it. But I would really love to hear the rationale of that ref who made that call. And they didn't come together. And if they did come together, they stuck by that. Like, come on now. And I think that one of the players, I forget who it was, came out and said, listen, let's go back to the reviewing of quarterback, roughing the passer. Let's go back to reviewing those calls. I think that's what we're going to have to go with, to be perfectly honest with you, because, you have these guys who are the review guys, Gene guy, those guys looking at this. And I don't know where that is. And then Troy Aikman at this point, he's in trouble of saying what he said as far as, putting dresses on these quarterbacks. And he's a former quarterback. So if he's saying it for, what I mean, then there's an issue there. So yeah, just outrageous, man. In my opinion, I just think that if you're going to do anything, just put flags on these guys, let them go pull them. And then, you're down, and that's it. That's the bottom line, because it's rough to watch. It really is.
Yeah. And K Walk, that ref did come out and say, like, what he saw was a guy grabbing someone and throwing them to the ground. What he should have said was, I got it wrong. That's
I got it
what
wrong.
He should have said.
Thank you.
But Britt, like we all saw a couple weeks ago, Tua get hit, head injury, then come back just a few days later, really awful situation on the field. Do you think any of these quick roughing the passer calls have anything to do with what we saw happen to Tua and just trying to prevent concussions and head injuries? I'm saying, like, do you almost feel like maybe they talked to the refs and said, hey, we've got to protect these guys after what happened to Tua? Let's call it even tighter than what we were calling it before.
If that's what they feel, if that's what they said, that's a problem to me, because the Tua situation was on the fault of the Dolphins organization and the concussion consultant, or that I forgot what it was called, trauma something consultant, because you allowed him to go back into the game. Not only did you allow him to go back into the game, then you allow him to play the next game, which wasn't even a full week. They played from Sunday to Thursday. Yeah. So that's their fault. I hope they didn't go to these refs and say that, because that's, unfortunately, it's the part of the game. This is a violent sport. This is not, like I said, it's not golf. This is not baseball. This is not bowling. This is a violent contact sport, and I like the fact that they are willing to make the necessary changes. But at what point do you just have to sit and say, we can only change but so far? Because first and foremost, it's not fair to the defense. The defense can't play defense. At this point, you might as well just take the defense off the field and have the offense just go, 100 yards to see who gets there the fastest. I have no idea. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah. I really hope that wasn't the situation. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that question. I don't think Tua's situation impacted the calls. I just think both these refs made the wrong call, and I don't know what they were looking at.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation because, it's a fine line. You want to protect your players, especially quarterbacks, because let's be honest, if you get a bunch of starting quarterbacks out, it hurts the NFL product. It just does. So I get what they're trying to do, but you have to play football as well. So it's just a really fine line between protecting the quarterbacks, but not completely changing the game. But K-Walk, do you think any of the attention from Tua, that was a national story, not just a sports story. Right. That was on all kinds of shows. Do you think that has anything to do with the way that they're calling some of these roughing the passer calls?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different way than Britt did. I think it does. I think that, that they made it a priority to keep these players healthy, not just the quarterbacks, but any players. And you see when, I think it was Monday night with the Colts or whatever. I forget what day, when Hines went down, Naaman Hines went down. He immediately went out. He passed the protocol, but they said that he went through protocol. He passed the test, but they have a new thing is implemented with the no-go. So once you go into that, then you're not able to go back into the game. But yeah, Jay, I definitely think it has a lot to do with that, because no one wants to see that happen again, because that was a scary situation when we saw Tua.
For sure.
His hands seizing up the way that they did. You knew it was immediately. It was a neurology, a brain injury. You knew that, and then immediately you think, at least my thoughts went back to that Sunday game, like Brent alluded to, against the Bills. So yeah, I do think that they're making a huge focus, putting a huge focus on this and making these guys aware of this. And listen, if they go down in a certain way, it's something new, Jay, that they just talked about. I'm pretty sure they just talked about in the last week. So the ref probably didn't have. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here and say that he didn't have enough time to see if that was an egregious tackle, if he threw him down. He saw it as he tackled him unnecessarily. That's football. I don't know how you do that, but nonetheless, I do think it has a lot to do with that, Jay. I think they're focusing on that, and they don't want to see that again from any player, especially a Tom Brady, GOAT. They definitely don't want to see that from him. So yeah, I definitely think that it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, we're all in favor of keeping the players safe, but how do you do that without interfering with the competition?